And welcome into the Tuesday edition, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robby Stanley alongside Ian Safar. Joe Rexrode will be along here shortly. We are live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership where the buzz is always about great service. Hope everybody's off to a wonderful start on their Tuesday morning. We got a lot going on the program here today. Eric Kane from VolQuest will be with us at 7:30. We will get into the latest in the transfer portal with Tennessee. So looking forward to that. We got the divisional matchups that are now set in the NFL playoffs. We will get you the latest on the John Harbaugh situation, the Titans search for a head coach, and the Nashville Predators back in action tonight with a big game for them, taking on the Edmonton Oilers. So we got a lot going on the program here today. Ian Safar, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Another fell asleep at halftime once again. I'll have to find a way to power through some of these night games here as we get closer. But another bad pick for me. My picks in my pigskin pick'em went with the over. Needed one more field goal.
Yeah, he was close.
It was close, but needed another field goal. So I don't know. I've not been good with my locks this year in the picks so it's just, Rodgers got beat up pretty good there. Saw that. But yeah, doing great. Happy Tuesday, everybody.
Well, it looked for a while like it wasn't going to be all that close at all to the over-under, which I think was it 38.5?
38
what that number was?
Yeah. A couple of defensive touchdowns,
I guess. Defensive touchdowns. And then the fourth quarter, I think Texans outscored the Steelers 23-0 in the fourth quarter. So final ends up being 30-6 last night for Houston. So Houston, after the 0-3 start this year, rebounded to get to 12-5 and now has won a playoff game. And look, their defense, we've talked about it a lot. Their defense is really good. I mean, CJ Stroud, he ended up having some pretty good numbers last night. It was 21 of 32 for 250, a touchdown and a pick. Like, he wasn't that great, I didn't think, but they ran the ball for 164 yards, and their defense is just suffocating, man. Like, it is crazy how good their defense is.
They were crushing it last night.
Yeah.
I mean, constant pressure from Rodgers.
4 sacks. They ended up with 12 quarterback hits on Rodgers last night, which if you're the Steelers and you got your 42-year-old quarterback out there, letting him get hit 12 times, probably not the path to victory.
Rodgers is really good at getting the ball out quick, but Houston has some really good corners.
Yeah.
Lassiter and Stingley. And is it Stingley? Or I think Lassiter for sure. I think it's Stingley.
Yeah.
And they just shut those guys down. Plus, Pittsburgh doesn't have great wide receivers. DK Metcalf's coming off the 2-game suspension. He didn't look good. So when you can combine the press coverage that they can get from Houston with the pass rush, it's pretty legit.
Well, and I'll tell you what, I don't think it's a huge surprise that the Texans went in there last night and beat the Steelers. Now 30-6, probably a little bit of a surprise with how much of a beatdown it was. I tell you though, the Patriots Texans is interesting. I mean, I think the first look at it, I'm looking at the line right now. The Patriots are favored by 3. And look, I know the Patriots on defense basically just did the exact same thing to the Chargers the other night. So I get it. Like, this could be a defensive battle coming up between the Patriots and the Texans in the divisional round.
Stroud did not look very good last night either.
Yeah.
For Houston, he's turning the ball over a lot too.
Yeah.
So it could be another over/under.
That Texans defense, man, it's salty. So I am really interested to see what that looks like. But we have the divisional matchups that are now set. It'll be the Broncos taking on the Bills in the AFC side of this thing. Bills going on the road to Denver. Texans going on the road to take on the Patriots. So those are your final 4 teams in the AFC. And then on the NFC side of things, Seattle will be hosting the San Francisco 49ers, and then Chicago hosting the Rams. So the final 8 in the NFL has been set, and, man, it could be a pretty darn good divisional weekend. I mean, look, divisional weekend every year, people have this conversation, like which weekend is better, wild card weekend, divisional weekend. We've got some pretty sweet divisional weekend matchups over the years. I am pretty fascinated by this one. And
this one looks pretty good.
We always seem to have the conversation, that 1 seed, people, sometimes it works out for people, sometimes it doesn't. Some teams can handle the long layoff well, some can't. I'm interested on the Seattle and Denver front, who've just been sitting here watching this all happen this weekend. I mean, it should be a good thing for you. Like you're getting your rest and getting players a little bit healthier for a week should be a good thing for you. But we see it all the time where sometimes that doesn't work out the way that people want it to.
Oh, we've seen that firsthand here.
Sure have. Multiple times.
So it will be interesting. There's some good matchups. Like you said, the divisional round is usually always very good. At this point, the teams kind of separate themselves, and the teams that have been playing well towards the end of the season kind of continue that momentum. We got some divisional kind of things in the West, which is always fun. So I don't know. I honestly don't know who I'm picking yet in these games.
I don't either.
If I had, I was looking kind of just preliminary over it a little bit yesterday. I'm still a little bit torn on how I'm feeling on this stuff.
My initial reaction yesterday was Broncos Patriots. But I tell you, man, that Texans defense makes me
nervous for Vrabel.
This be a big Drake May, Josh McDaniels week on that front. So we will see what happens. But again, I mentioned yesterday, you're talking about three of the four teams left in the NFC from that division out there in the NFC West. So, yep. I mean, taking it back to the coaching conversation, it's just more of a reminder on like the Arizona Cardinals job. Number one, you don't know who the quarterback is. And number two, you're in that division right now. And I understand divisions can change pretty quickly in the NFL in terms of the hierarchy of what's going on. But, man, that just doesn't seem like a very attractive job.
So tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they got some work to do stacked against those guys. Like, even if you get the quarterback figured out, you still have those coaches in that situation lined up. I mean, those are some long-term situations there with Purdy and Shanahan.
Yep.
McVay, although he'll have to figure out a quarterback, but kind of trust
Don't
him.
You kind of trust that guy to do that?
Yeah. He's already figured it out once or twice. What he did with Goff, figure something else out. And then Darnold still on the younger side with McDonald, new coach in Seattle, also on the younger side. Could be set up for pretty good. Yeah, it's going to be tough for Arizona. Climb out of that.
And now the question in the immediate aftermath of the Pittsburgh game is what happens with Mike Tomlin. So, they make the playoffs again. It's well documented. They've never had a losing season under Mike Tomlin. And when you've been there as long as he's been there, that's pretty impressive to put that together. Now, I've seen it from Steelers fans that I know. I've seen it all over the place on social media last night of same old stuff with the Steelers where you're good enough to squeak your way into the playoffs. And then by the time the playoffs come around, you're just not competitive. And last night, probably a little bit of an extreme there where you get beat 30-6 on your home field. But I mean, Rodgers, his future is up in the air. I mean, at some point he's going to retire, I think. Maybe he comes back for one more year, but is the picture going to be all that different if he's back next year? I mean, he's 42 years old. I don't think he's going to lead you to a Super Bowl at this stage of his career. So it's a combination of things right now in Pittsburgh. You've got to find your next quarterback. Even if Rodgers does come back next year, you've got to find your next quarterback.
Do they rock with Will Howard, or they just go free agency? Are they like a Kyler situation?
Maybe.
Would he be a fit there? Or do they look at that? Or I don't know.
I think it's probably about time to go through the draft process again. Maybe this year's the wrong year for it, but they've gone down the Justin Fields, Russell Wilson, now Aaron Rodgers
has not worked
rabbit hole, and it just hadn't worked. Like it's not saying it can't work. I mean, maybe who knows? Maybe they put themselves in the Malik Willis sweepstakes this offseason. I don't know.
Oh yeah, wasn't that a big thing during the draft?
Yeah, there's
Tomlin visiting.
Thought he was going to go
Malik
there.
Willis.
Yeah, so
first rounder. That's right.
Maybe that ends up being the answer, but they got to find a quarterback, their quarterback of the future, and then is Tomlin going to be a part of it? I'm really interested here in the next couple of days to see what all happens on that front.
If you're Pittsburgh, I think I try to bring him back. I don't know why. I feel like he's so steady, and that's just one less thing you don't have to worry about if you're Pittsburgh,
Yeah, but I wonder about him too. Like, has he reached the point in that organization where it's like, ready? You know what? I hear all the noise. I mean, I would assume he can look at this too and say, yeah, now we're going to have to go find another quarterback at this point. I just wonder, does he reach the point where he wants to move on as well? And I said it yesterday, like if you've got John Harbaugh and you've got Mike Tomlin, entering the coaching cycle at the same time. It's pretty unbelievable that would be the case. So, maybe that happens, maybe it doesn't, but now that they've officially been eliminated, and not just eliminated, they got absolutely destroyed last night by the Texans. I think that we're going to be on Tomlin watch here for the next couple of days, which is very fascinating.
It'd be interesting.
Yep.
Just make I mean, that would put the carousel's already been crazy. Imagine Tomlin out there.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh open, what that does to everything. I don't know. That would be fun.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. We are off and running on Robby and Rexrode, taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. What do you make of Mike Tomlin and what the future could hold for him in Pittsburgh? We'll take your thoughts on that. We will get into the latest on John Harbaugh. All that coming up. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game.
How do you approach a decision about your future?
I'm not even in that mindset as I sit here tonight. I'm more in the mindset of what transpired in this stadium and, certainly what we did and didn't do. Not a big picture mentality as I sit here tonight.
That's Mike Tomlin after the game last night. Houston wins 30-6, and that is all she wrote for the Pittsburgh Steelers in the playoffs. Now the question is, what does the future look like for Mike Tomlin? And do you add him to the potential coaching pool list? Do you add the Pittsburgh job to the list of jobs that could be open coming up? Time will tell on that front. Robby Stanley alongside Joe Rexrode and Ian Safar here with you on this Tuesday morning. Do we have Rexrode on the program now?
Yes.
Good morning, Joe.
Yeah, good morning.
Sorry. No, you're good. Your thoughts on Tomlin now that Pittsburgh gets crushed last night. I got to tell you, I'm really interested to see what happens here with the Steelers. The fan base is out for blood on the Tomlin front. We know that's probably the most patient organization in the history of sports when it comes on around here. But, he's been there a long time at this point. It's been a long time since they've had playoff success. What do you think about where things stand with Mike Tomlin heading into now another disappointing offseason after an early playoff exit?
I mean, I have no idea. Does it make it more or less likely that this cycle is already so out of control that something would happen? I mean, maybe the Ravens and Steelers should just swap coaches now and just save everybody the trouble, But yeah, you have to. I mean, everything that's happened that other than McDermott winning, just about everything else has happened to sort of get us to the point of all these possible huge changes. I mean, I'm still like right now. I would guess. I would not guess the Steelers would fire him. I could be wrong, of course, but I would guess it would be more a mutual decision, which maybe that is. Maybe that's the case. I mean, if you're him, you are saying goodbye to Aaron. I mean, my gosh, they basically had the farewell tour stuff ready for Rodgers in the fourth quarter last night. Did. So you are now picking, wherever they're going to pick, where they always pick, which is a team that, gets in the playoffs, sometimes wins the division, doesn't do anything in the playoffs, but not very high in a draft where right now there's one quarterback that I think people feel good about, and it's not even great. I mean, some people may feel great about him, but there's one quarterback, and then there's, I guess Dante Moore's coming out because Raiola is the Oregon quarterback. So I suppose that tells us what Dante Moore's doing. Okay, so those two will be gone, and then do you have a chance to get Ty Simpson where you pick? I mean, so point being, the quarterback has just been the issue there for a long time, and it doesn't look like it's gonna. I mean, maybe they'll luck out, but there's a good chance that they're just gonna have to go and try to band-aid it again. And their defense is getting older. Like, when do we see the Steelers being great again?
I think it's going to be a while, and they're picking. I think 21st is where they're at right now in the draft order. So, could you find your quarterback of the future at 21? Sure. Right? Like, if Ty Simpson drops down that far and he ends up being a great player, then good. I mean, I said it last segment, half jokingly, but maybe not. Like, do they look out and they say, you know what, Malik Willis, we loved him in the draft process a few years ago, didn't take him, but now it's time. Let's go get Malik Willis to be the starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't know. I'm really interested to see how Tomlin looks at it, because I think you look at TJ Watt, the health issues that he's gone through. They have to find their next quarterback. Their defense wasn't very good even when Watt was on the field this year. It just kind of feels like a team to me that needs a reset here. Yeah. And, I know they've basically never done that in the history of their franchise, but it kind of feels like it may be necessary coming up here. So, I mean, Tomlin's been around forever. He's still only 53 years old. There's still a lot of tread on that tire, I would assume, if he wants to keep coaching for a long time here. So, if he enters the mix here, how does that affect the coaching cycle? So now you've gotten a situation where John Harbaugh is going to start interviewing with teams. We're going to find out, I would assume, about Tomlin's future here in the next couple of days. And if you add him to the list, if you're a Titans fan and you're talking about times to open up your job, I guess you could view it a couple of different ways. I mean, there's a ton of openings already. There's a ton of coaches available. But the more good coaches that are available, I think the better off that is for you if you're the Titans here. But it's already probably the craziest NFL coaching cycle that I can remember. And if you add Tomlin to the list, I mean, you can just magnify that by another 10.
Yeah, we'll find out at 9:05 a.m.
Probably.
today. But yeah, it's like obviously you add him by far the most. I think it already is, but like this would put it in a different stratosphere in terms of the wildest coaching cycles. But then, like you said, you also open up one of the traditional great jobs. Now, again, as all the stuff we just went over, I mean, if you're like, there are people, there are people interested in coaching any NFL team, including the Pittsburgh Steelers. But like, where would that's an interesting question of like where the Steelers job would rate, because there are concerns, it's going the wrong way for sure with the roster and no answer in sight at quarterback. But then of course you just have the tradition and you have the ownership and all that stuff.
Yep.
So that's a really interesting, I'm sure different people would sort of weigh those things against each other differently, but man, it's I mean, I know Steelers fans, and I get it. Like, I think Mike Tomlin's is a heck of a coach, and people will be lining up to hire him just like they're lining up to hire John Harbaugh. But I understand from the Steelers fans' perspective, just sick of being in the middle. I mean, it's kind of like, we talk about it around here with the Preds. Is that on the coach? I mean, that's just he's the guy in charge. Texter says Arthur Smith's a bigger issue. Yeah, look, I've been watching last night, and I'm just seeing no answers. Like, I mean, you can blame Arthur Smith if you want, but I'm seeing Aaron Rodgers just really struggling to escape from people anymore, and not many people getting open, and not much of a run, and just really, really difficult time protecting him all night. You can blame Arthur Smith if you want, man, but if you can't block people and can't get open, you call whatever play you want to call.
Well, and I'd love to know from Titans fans, and the texters brought this up too. Let's play this out and say Tomlin ends up being out there. Who's your number one target if you're a Titans fan? Is it Harbaugh still? Is it Tomlin? I mean, some people, I know a lot of this depends on the eye of the beholder, but I think most Titans fans right now, if you took a poll, John Harbaugh would be the guy that they want now that he's out there and available. Is that still the case if Tomlin is out there and available? I would love to know how Titans fans feel on that front.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, to me, it's, the one thing about it that's, first of all, both of them, of course, have to come with, they're not offensive play callers, so that you have to consider I think the OC is like, okay, who's the OC? You kind of assume it's Todd Monken with Harbaugh. Does that excite you? They obviously did really good things with Lamar Jackson, but whatever. People are all in on Harbaugh, but I think people should be all in on Tomlin too. And the difference there is age. I mean, you could have a lot more runway. I know in this league, it's hard to think more than like 2-3 years ahead with anything, with any coach or tenure. But if you do have that success, is John Harbaugh going to go well into his 70s? I don't know, but Tomlin has a lot, there's a lot more meat on the bone there with Tomlin. I think it's really close. I'd call it like 50-50 almost.
Yeah. Harbaugh has had more recent success. There's no doubt right now, right. How much of that is because he's had Lamar Jackson at quarterback, right? That's the big question on that front. K-Dot on the YouTube chat pointing out that the man door was open last night out there in Pittsburgh. Mandor probably could have helped him last night.
Maybe they would have liked to have a Mandor back. They could have used an extra Mandor, a closed one.
They absolutely could have. Skyler says, what kind of trade package would the Steelers have to trade up to number 4 with if Ty Simpson gets graded that high? That's what I'm talking about. We already got the Steelers and the Titans in the mix making a trade.
Yeah. Wow. Boy.
Well, if you're moving from 21 to 4, it would be a heck of a trade package.
Yeah, it's going to have to be a lot. How about Mike Tomlin?
Well,
Keep him and trade him
we'll take your
on
coach.
draft night.
Yeah,
You know,
that would be interesting.
Yeah.
The Titans didn't have
draft
a coach
night,
by the
draft
time
night
April.
coach trade.
Yeah. Titans go
And
hire
Harbaugh's
someone,
already
and it's
here.
like, yeah, we'll make a trade at that point.
No, that's a lot, Skylar. That's a lot. I mean, that's the thing. It's like it's hard for me because I have actually seen some mock drafts where they get him where they are.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know.
I mean,
It's like
the picture's going to change so much from now
Yeah.
until draft night.
but the thing that usually happens is, okay, so you're the third QB and people think you probably are going in the 20s, then all of a sudden, oh yeah, you go way higher than that because you're a quarterback. So maybe something like that could materialize for the Titans.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. 615-737-1025. Taking your thoughts on Tomlin and Harbaugh. We'll give you the latest on the John Harbaugh situation as well. Coming up next, Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you on this Tuesday morning. I got some tickets to give away to the early crowd. A pair of tickets to see the Preds take on the Edmonton Oilers at Bridgestone Arena tonight. It's a bobblehead series night featuring Dierks Bentley, an exclusive giveaway for the first 10,000 fans in attendance. Puck drop at 7 o'clock tonight. Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, and the Oilers. Be caller 5, 615-737-1025. Caller 5 will win a pair of tickets to see the Preds take on the Oilers tonight at Bridgestone Arena. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Joe, the latest on the John Harbaugh front as we wait to see what happens now with Mike Tomlin and his future. Apparently, John Harbaugh has conducted an interview with the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons put it out there that they have completed an interview with John Harbaugh for their coaching job. Harbaugh, and Schefter was talking about this yesterday, among others, has been on extensive and preliminary phone calls with the Giants, the Titans, the Browns, the Raiders, and the Cardinals. Apparently, Chris Mara of the Giants visited Harbaugh at his house on Sunday for an informal meeting. So all sorts of interest, which is to be expected on the John Harbaugh front, but apparently an interview completed with the Atlanta Falcons. So, Joe, what do you make of that? Should there be any sort of conclusions taken that the Atlanta Falcons were apparently the first team to actually have an interview with John Harbaugh?
No, it seems to me, it just seems like the Giants are obviously doing the full court press here. So
maybe had Tom Coughlin call him.
Is that you said Tom Coughlin called?
Yeah, I think Tom Coughlin called him. Yeah.
Okay.
They're just all over it.
Well, last I knew, Tom Coughlin cared about Duval, but I guess his loyalties no longer
all over the place
lie there. So I just, it seems like the Giants, but look, there's just a lot out there from different people about the legitimacy of the Titans' hopes here. Several things. We've talked about obviously Diana Rossini and the quarterback film thing. We're going to have Diana on tomorrow, by the way. Hopefully by then it's not over and Harbaugh isn't already the Titans coach. I don't think it will be, but there's a lot of smoke out there. And again, Connor is someone, I think he's the one who reported the stuff with Mara, or some of the stuff with Mara and Harbaugh, and has been sort of consistent with, Titans should be taken seriously here. So now again, the interview part of it is, that's, I mean, if it's gonna even get to that, then again, I think that speaks well of Cam Ward, right? But then also, what is it that would put the Titans over the top in this? I mean, I guess it could just be as simple as Dart or Ward. Who do you like better? But there is more to that. If it's relatively close, and to me, I think anybody who watches the whole thing of both of them would probably have some excitement, but then also some questions. I mean, with Dart, it's like, man, you need to stop smashing into people for one thing, right? But I guess it'd be hard for me to believe that anybody would conclusively think one of them is way beyond the other in terms of potential. So then what are the other factors? What is it that could give the Titans an edge?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, it's got to start and end with Ward, but then I saw this from people yesterday. It's like, well, if you're narrowing down this process, if you're John Harbaugh and you're looking at film on Jackson Dart and Cam Ward, on the Atlanta front, where does that attraction come from? Because I think people are scared to death about Michael Penix and the injury situation. Now, from a numbers perspective, I mean, Penix was okay when he was in the games this year. I mean, he completed 60% of his passes. He was 7.2 an attempt. I think he threw 9 touchdowns and 3 picks. So he was all right when he was in the game this year. But he only played 9 games, and you're talking about a past that now involves a couple of pretty big knee injuries at the age of 25. Now, you look at the rest of Atlanta's roster, Joe, and you have Bijan Robinson out there, which is pretty attractive. You've got some pass catchers that you feel good about. You've got a defense that, James Pierce Jr. had a pretty good rookie season out there. I mean, they've got some talent. Yep. So from a talent standpoint, I think you're feeling okay about the Falcons. And, we talked yesterday about the Cardinals and how unattractive I think that job is for a lot of reasons. But one of the reasons being that you look at the rest of their division. Well, if you look at the NFC South right now, you're like, okay, well, Carolina, they look like they may be getting better. Tampa Bay, what are they going to be next year? Are they getting too old? I know they get Baker playing when Baker's healthy, he's playing really well. But, Mike Evans is getting older. Chris Godwin's getting up there. We'll see what that looks like. And then there's the Saints. So it could be an up-and-coming division here, but right now there's no team that just terrifies you in the NFC South. So, of the divisions that you'd be joining in the short term, that may be the best one in the NFL to join at the moment.
Yeah. Though I always thought like stuff like that should be down the list just because it's so cyclical. And yeah, the AFC South is like a juggernaut, and then the Titans right now. So, maybe
it just shows you that Matt Ryan's already making an impact there with his new role with the Titans, or excuse me, the Falcons.
Yeah, well, maybe it does. Yeah, to me, it's the quarterback thing has got to be. I guess, yeah, if you really love everything else, then because the Falcons do have some talent for sure, but I don't know.
Is that really the best place to win right now?
I don't know, man. To me, I understand that they've got talent, and I have no idea how NFL coaches view Arthur Blank in terms of how to work for. You'd have to feel pretty darn good about Penix to me if you're taking that job. And I don't know how you could. I don't know how you could right now.
Yeah, I'd feel okay, but not great. Yeah, and again, I'm not. If I'm someone looking objectively at either of these jobs with the rookie quarterbacks, I also don't feel great. But it's like, I think there's a lot more runway with those guys. They just haven't played as much, and again, it's funny because one of the Cam Ward things, of course, was the durability. And then he gets hurt in the last game of the year, so you do have that as something to consider too. But Jackson Dart is getting hurt way too often. Yeah, if I'm him, there's a lot that has to go into it, but I think that's got to be, like, you got to feel like you have a chance to grow with a quarterback, or or there's a plan, who knows? I don't know what Atlanta internally thinks about Michael Penix or what Matt Ryan does, but they may be like, they may already be thinking about what's next. The problem is, again, then how do you get to what's next and make sure it's good?
Well, it would be pretty wild if they were thinking about what's next, considering that they paid Kirk Cousins all the money that they did. They drafted Michael Penix at number 8 where they did. And then 2 years later, you're already thinking about another quarterback. I understand that Matt Ryan is now in, and there's going to be a new GM, and there's going to be a new coach. So it's a completely different regime coming in. But that would be pretty wild that quickly to go from spending that much money on Kirk Cousins to that high of a draft pick on Michael Penix to just totally restarting at quarterback in 2 years.
Yeah, it's kind of what loser franchises do.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's the thing. I think you have to. You have to look at them. But you have Matt Ryan, so it's like, okay, so how attractive is that? Seriously, like, okay, we're starting fresh, and this guy is really sharp, and this is going to be a great partnership. I don't know how much that intrigues him, but it must to some extent, because it seems like he's taking them seriously. Texter says full roster control. John from Nashville, full roster control, $20 million a year. Okay, well, I would wonder if Amy is willing to do that. Okay, that's a big number. And are we sure that the Titans would be the only team offering that up? The funny thing about this is the Titans just told us what their structure is. Now, would you blow it up for Harbaugh? I would consider it. I don't really care that I just had a press release and a press conference, but it's.
I'm coming today to write another letter to Titans fans. Mike Borgonzi is now not general manager in the traditional sense of the word. It is John Harbaugh.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, and even if they did do that, they probably wouldn't tell us, right? They just be like, well, Yeah, collaboration. Let's revisit the word collaboration. But if you're Borgonzi, I mean, if you're Borgonzi and you're looking at this situation, I mean, I don't know. Is that absolutely what Harbaugh wants? There's also conflicting reports on that, by the way.
Right.
And whoever reported initially that these are his baseline demands. There's a report refuting that, which sounds like something that came from his agent. But where did it initially come from? That's when you get into these games that you can play during the coaching cycle time period.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. So John Harbaugh has interviewed with the Falcons. What could be coming next for him? Will the Titans be on that list? We're waiting to hear what happens with Mike Tomlin and his future. And there are some other names out there, other interviews with the Titans that are taking place this week. We'll get into all of it coming up next. The Predators in action taking on the Oilers tonight. We'll get into that coming up at 7 o'clock. All that ahead. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game.
Where do we kind of stand in the entire Harbaugh situation? Bell of the ball still, teams with coaches, potentially Packers, thinking about moving into the Harbaugh sweepstakes? Like, kind of how do we kind of sit with it all right now?
Well, if you want John Harbaugh in New York, I think the first thing you want is the Green Bay Packers and Matt LaFleur to work out a deal. That's the first thing you want to have happen. Because if they don't work out a deal, that opens up the possibility of Green Bay as a potential favorite there. Now, again, John Harbaugh gets to sit back and call the shots here to a certain extent. And he has interest from these teams. He could go, I'm sure, to New York if he wanted, Atlanta to you there if he wanted, Tennessee if he wanted, Cleveland if he wanted. We're waiting to see, obviously, what else transpires, namely Green Bay. We mentioned yesterday on air, again, it might mean nothing, but I don't think it does mean nothing. His agent is Brian Harlan. Brian Harlan's father was Bob Harlan. AJ, you know Bob Harlan, right?
Oh, yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah, former president of Green Bay royalty in Green Bay. The Harlans and Green Bay are quite familiar with one another. So we now have a Harlan representing John Harbaugh with deep Midwestern roots. Like, you could just see where all this could be headed if they don't get a deal done with Matt LaFleur. I think they'd like to keep Matt LaFleur. I think he'd like to stay. But again, in a negotiation, everybody's got certain stances and ideas and leverage, and you see how it plays out. And again, it'd be great if we got word this afternoon the Packers and Matt LaFleur reached agreement on a new extension, and he's staying. That's within the realm of options.
That was Schefter on the Pat McAfee show yesterday, discussing the John Harbaugh situation, taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHoney.com. So he's interviewed with the Falcons. Man, Joe, I guess that's in the backdrop until LaFleur signs his extension in Green Bay. Then there's a chance that Harbaugh could go there. Doesn't seem like that's likely at this point, but I guess there's a chance until that deal has the ink dried on the paper. And then after that, what's that going to look like for the Titans and everyone else? I mean, Ed on the text line throwing this out there says, Harbaugh's free to sign with the Giants at any time. Does the longer this draw out, does it make you question if he really wants to be in New York?
Not yet.
Not yet. I mean, again, like, to me, let's say deep down he really wanted to go to the Bills or the Packers. And I have no idea if he did or not. I mean, the Bills aren't going to fire their coach at this point. Packers look like they're trying to get an extension with the coach that they've got. So I've heard nothing over the last few days, Joe, about John Harbaugh entertaining the idea of sitting out a year. So clearly he still wants to coach and wants to coach immediately heading into next year. He's already interviewed with Atlanta. So, I think he's going to be coaching next year. So if you're the Titans, like if you're a Titans fan sitting back watching all this and Green Bay doesn't come open and he's already interviewed with Atlanta, like, don't you have to feel of the jobs that are currently available? I mean, we went through Miami yesterday, other than living in Miami, I don't really know what else is attractive about that job considering where they are with quarterback right now. And look, their owner is probably more attractive to him than he is to others because they have Michigan ties. So so there's probably a little bit of grace there on that front, but like the job itself, there's a lot of work to be done on that Miami roster. So like of the jobs that are available, I think if you're a Titans fan looking at this, you're starting to allow yourself maybe to give yourself some hope that there could be some legitimate interest on the Harbaugh front.
Yeah, but again, I like with the whole weight thing. I mean, I think you have to wait and make sure on the Packers, right?
I think so, but I mean, how long is that? I mean, I would think the extension shouldn't take that long, right? Like we're going to find out here I would assume either today or tomorrow. If it gets much past that, then I don't really know what's happening there, right? So how long are you going to wait if you're Harbaugh?
Well, but if it gets past that, then isn't there actual real hope that LaFleur's out?
Could be, yeah.
So then I just like if you're Harbaugh and there's any possibility that job opens up, then you're not in a rush. And again, I don't think you should even right at this point be in a rush anyway. again, if he's trying to do his due diligence on all these jobs, that includes the interviews, but then obviously his own time to figure things out. I mean, he's probably about there now, and then we're going to see with where he actually, where all he ends up going. But yeah, if I'm him, I want to make sure the wording's weird, and frankly, Robby, I assume that by the time this show happened today, we would have heard something on LaFleur. So I find that to be a little bit strange.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to know what the Packers' offer to him is. Like, is it when you're talking extension, are they trying to extend him 2 years? Are they trying to extend him 5 years? Because if you're him, you're probably looking for a long-term extension with a significant pay bump, right? I mean, we talked about some of the coaching market yesterday. Are the Packers going to be willing to do that? And if they're not, does it fall apart to the point where they just move on? I mean, that's the thing that's in the backdrop of all of this. Right now, you've got Harbaugh available. We don't know on Tomlin, and it's looking like LaFleur's staying. It could get to the point, Joe, where it's Harbaugh's available. It falls apart with LaFleur. He's out there and available, and Tomlin's also available. And what does that do to, like, if you're Mike McDaniel looking for another coaching job, what does that do? What does that mean about where Kevin Stefanski is going to land if that situation plays out? Like, it's the domino effect that's still out there based on what happens with both Tomlin and LaFleur here is really interesting. And I would assume in the next couple of days we're going to find out. But the coaching dynamic here in the next 2 days could change dramatically.
Right. And then as Richard points out in the YouTube chat, we're going to talk about this for 2 weeks, and then Nagy will be the Titans coach.
I mean, maybe I understand people thinking that, but like if you're Borgonzi watching all this, I mean, look, I understand that he's got a relationship with Nagy, and he may believe that Matt Nagy's going to end up being a great coach. He may be right. Maybe Matt Nagy is going to end up being a great coach. But don't you kind of owe it to yourself? You talked about making the best decision for the franchise. If there's a legitimate chance for you to end up with a John Harbaugh or a Tomlin or, as much as he's on my nerves, Matt LaFleur, don't you have to hold out for that as long as you can if you're Borgonzi?
Oh, 100%. Now, I took his comment more as they're all just going to go to other places.
Well, maybe
be left with him, but I guess it could be either way, right? If it's oh no, it's got to be Nagy. Yikes! Like Nagy might work out fine. There's plenty of arguments on his behalf for Chicago. There's arguments against too. I hope that wouldn't be why, just because you're just dead set on Nagy. I mean, Nagy has also said, by the way. And I honestly don't know how attractive this will be, but he has said also that I think if he's not going to be a head coach, he'd like to be a play calling OC.
Yep.
So he could also be, well, how about Mike Tomlin and Matt Nagy as OC? What do you guys think? You guys good with that?
Well, I mean, could be Arthur Smith could come home. Get the Tomlin Arthur Smith duo back in here. Titans played some good football with Arthur Smith as their OC.
That's the thing is, again, I didn't sit there last night and say, my God, Arthur Smith, what are you doing? I just sat there and said, they have no chance. This is like at times it seriously looked like a powerful college team beating up on seriously, it was that, but it's not going to help Arthur Smith in this whole cycle, right?
I
can't imagine it would.
Yeah, I can't imagine that it would either. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. Preds in action tonight, taking on the Edmonton Oilers. Pretty big game for Nashville. We'll give you a standings update and discuss the latest with the local professional hockey team coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Hour number 2, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you on this Tuesday morning. We are live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership where the buzz is always about great service. We'll have Eric Kane from VolQuest with us coming up at 7:30. We'll get into the latest in the transfer portal with Tennessee. The Rob rant coming up later this hour at 7:45. Taking your thoughts in the meantime. 615-737-1025, our phone number, 615-737-1025. The Nashville Predators back in action tonight. They will take on Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, and the Edmonton Oilers. Joe, it's an important time of the year here for the Preds in terms of it's time to start thinking about, what sort of decisions are you going to make if you're Barry Trotzer? I mean, the Predators have climbed back into the wild card race. At the moment, they are 2 points out of the final wild card spot in the Western Conference. They have basically, I believe this is right. Yeah, they have alternated wins and losses for the last 7 games. So win one, lose one, win one, lose one. That's what they've done the last 7 games here. They took on Edmonton last week in Edmonton. It did not go well. They lost 6-2. And Joe, as we know, it's been a pretty difficult matchup for the Predators over the past few years with Draisaitl and McDavid and the problems that those guys create. So Edmonton did play last night. They got a win against Chicago, so they will be on the second half of a back-to-back tonight. So you were off yesterday if you're the Predators, so I guess you get that advantage. But Predators will have their hands full tonight. They got Edmonton at home tonight, Joe. They got Colorado on the road Friday, which has not been a friendly place for people to play this year. They got Vegas on the road Saturday. So this is a pretty crucial week for the Predators in terms of if you're going to stay in the wild card race, you're going to have to beat some good teams this week because, you get through this week, all of a sudden you're in the back half of January. February comes around and you barely play. You've got 3 games the first week of February, and then you're off for basically the rest of the month for the Olympic break. And then after that, trade deadline is going to be around the corner. So, Joe, I know the calendar, you look at it and you're like, well, there's still plenty of time between now and the NHL trading deadline. From like the games that are left, there's really not. So it's time to really start thinking about the direction you're going here if you're Barry Trotz.
Yeah, and it's like they're playing well, and then they'll have a result, like the Chicago game. And you're like, okay, let's. But then you beat Washington the next day. So like overall the trend is positive, and obviously they've gotten themselves to a point where I don't know about you. I didn't think we'd even be getting to talking about this, in the first few weeks of the season. But yeah, that's a great thing for people to keep in mind is the games are about to end for a long time. The schedule has been super condensed, and so it really is closer than the calendar would suggest. And but I also feel like, Robby, it's sort of like, again, I have no idea of how Barry Trotz is thinking about it, but it's like you're plugging away, you're doing the best you can. Again, all credit due to these guys, to Andrew Burnett and his staff and these veterans for hanging in there when you've seen some young players making some strides. Like there's some good things happening, but I guess to me, it just comes down to like, or at least I think it should just come down to what kinds of offers people are throwing at you. And as you've talked about a lot, Ryan O'Reilly is in particular, like I think someone that there's going to be some contenders who are very interested, and then just assessing it based on the return and not, I would hope that it would just be purely like, okay, is this too good to pass up or not? And not, I can't do this to this team. That's what I would hope. I don't know if how he's viewing it.
Well, and it's been interesting too, because, Doug Armstrong, who is the general manager for the St. Louis Blues. Now, in fairness, the Blues are 4 points behind the Predators. So the Blues are almost at the bottom. I mean, Vancouver's at the bottom of the Western Conference, and then it's Winnipeg, and then it's St. Louis. So, I mean, the Blues, by the math, are probably not getting into playoffs. I understand that. But the reporting around them is basically like, Yeah, I mean, we're still not out of the wild card race, but they don't feel great about beating Colorado in the first round, so they're just going to act like they're selling at the deadline.
Yeah,
And look, I understand some fans would hear that, and I've seen some Blues fans hear that, and they're like, really? So that's your approach? It's like, well, we're scared to death of Colorado, so we're just not even going to try by the time the playoffs come around. It is the Stanley Cup playoffs. We have seen, I mean, it was just a few years ago, Joe, where Boston ran through the league, right? And they just destroyed everybody all regular season long. And then they got beat by Florida in the first round. Now, as it turns out, that Florida team ended up being pretty good. And we have seen kind of the results of that ever since then. But it can happen in this league. But if you're the Predators, Barry Trotz has really got to think about that. At this point, if you're making the playoffs, if you're the Predators, it's going to be one of the wild card spots. I mean, we talked about Colorado. You're definitely not catching them. You're not catching Dallas. And even the third place team in the Central right now is Minnesota. And they're at 61 points, which means they're 15 points ahead of you. You ain't catching the Wild either. So if you're making the playoffs, it's going to be in the wild card. And it's not impossible to get the first wild card spot, and which would mean you're taking on the Pacific Division winner, which right now would be Vegas. Joe, I got a feeling the Pacific Division winner at the end of it is probably going to end up being Edmonton. So it's going to be, if you make the playoffs, Joe, in all likelihood, you're taking on either Colorado in the first round or Edmonton in the first round. And what do you think about your chances in that? And I think you got to have a little bit of that conversation with yourself too, if you're Barry Trotz.
Maybe Leon Draisaitl should keep himself to 2 goals tonight, help the Preds win so that he gets to play them in a playoff series. Can you imagine what his numbers would be in a playoff series against the Preds?
No,
My goodness.
I mean, it'd probably be 4 games, but no.
Well, yeah, but still, it's like, what, 14 goals?
Yeah.
It's right. It's just not, it's not like, I know some Preds fans are like, yeah, I wish Trotz would say that. I get like Blues fans not liking that. I personally like it. I think it's refreshing, but it is also, it's like, you also hear a lot from GMs like anything can happen in this tournament. I mean, and they're right. Like, you can find plenty of examples, but also I hate hearing that too, because it's like, if that's your strategy of just like basically hope,
right?
I don't want to hear that out loud either. But I mean, Trotz is, again, it's like, look, things are going well, and you have to hang with it. I don't know if the guys in the locker room, like whatever, Yossi at one point said something about getting more players, didn't he? Like, I don't know if guys in the locker room really think that that's on the table realistically, but certainly, like, if they have to be thinking, if we keep this up and even ratchet it up, maybe we can at least stay together and have a chance to see this through. But I don't know, man. That's where it just gets into like, are you hurting yourself? Are you passing up a big opportunity? By not trading O'Reilly. At the same time, it's like they're so weak down the middle, and he's whatever you're looking like next year. I mean, do you not want him around? I don't know. To me, it's got to be a pretty sweet deal. It's not just like you're automatically planning to do it.
Well, I think it will be a pretty sweet deal. Like he's 38 points in 45 games, plus all the other stuff that he does on the defensive side, the penalty kill, the face-offs. Like, people, if the Predators make him available, there will be teams falling all over themselves trying to get Ryan O'Reilly at the trading deadline. And part of it's the position he plays too, right? Like center, like it's hard to make impactful center ice deals in this league. So to me, like, that's where you got to make your decision. Like, if you feel like you're on the cusp of actually competing for something, and I'm talking deep in the playoffs, which is hard to get there right now, then you probably keep O'Reilly. If you don't feel that way, I think the return could end up being so beneficial for you that you almost owe it to yourself to go down that route. Like, O'Reilly, I think, is pretty, I say it's easy. It's not, because they love Ryan O'Reilly. Ryan O'Reilly loves it here. He's a huge part of that locker room. I get it. So it's not easy, but you're going to get a massive return for Ryan O'Reilly. Like, it's not, I don't think it's hoping you're going to get one. Like, you're going to get a massive return for Ryan O'Reilly. What's interesting now is like the way that Stamkos has played. Like, I think he's probably played well enough recently where people may be around the league a little less worried about taking on that full contract. Now, I don't know how many teams can do that, but if you're Barry Trotz, do you look at him and say, well, let's go ahead and strike while the iron's hot? Or do you look at him and say, as we continue to build here, we'd really like him to be around over the next couple of years? Because keep in mind, he's got 2 more years after this one left on his contract.
Right. See, it's surprising for me to see, Texter says, I trust Stamkos, O'Reilly, Forsberg in the playoffs. What if we make a run? I know it's important to talk about the future, but as a fan, I'm not ready to sell. Keith says the city hasn't had much to be excited about with professional sports. Please give me some playoff hockey. I mean, I guess I don't know how much of the fan base feels that way. You go to the arena, people want to root on the Preds. They're playing well now. They're competitive. Of course, you'd like the idea. The front, as we talked about, the front office, do they like the idea of even having one playoff hockey series? Yeah. But again, it's just like, you just, how much of this can you endure of being this kind of fringe team? Yeah. And if you're right that the return is going to be big, and then, then I think Barry Trotz has to disappoint all those people and disappoint all the people in the locker room, which can't be easy. But I think he has to do it.
And it's not easy, but that's his job, right? Like, his job is to make the best decision for the franchise. And I understand that that's a subjective thing, but you would have a hard time convincing me that a first-round exit, even if it's, it's exciting, that would mean they're playing good hockey down the stretch, all those things. You would have a hard time convincing me that a first-round exit against Colorado or Edmonton would outweigh what I think could be pretty darn big return for Ryan O'Reilly.
Craig says getting those young guys a playoff experience, even if it's only one round. What's the value?
Well, I mean, the guys that we just talked about, Forsberg, O'Reilly, Stamkos, March so when he comes back, how many young guys are getting playoff experience? I mean, I guess my question is, like, does Luke Evangelista count as a young guy anymore? This is like his 3rd year here.
Well, he's been in the playoffs.
He's been in the playoffs. Like, Svechkov right now, I don't know. Like, if Svechkov keeps playing the way he's playing, he's probably going back to Milwaukee. So, like, is he getting playoff experience? That's my point. Like, Matthew Wood's been in and out of the lineup lately. So, again, you look down the lineup right now, there's not a whole lot of young guys out there impacting things at the moment.
Yeah, I think this is a great example of the term "rip the Band-Aid off," And the Preds, again, to the Preds' credit, they've even made it a discussion.
Yeah,
but like, I don't think the conclusion's any different.
I don't think so. I mean, look, again, Matt Wood has gotten back in there the last couple of games. It kind of looked like he probably needed a reset. They have some defensemen that are playing okay right now. But, like, again, your defense core is Yossi, Haig, Perbix, like all guys that have been around the league for a while now. I mean, Blankenberg has played well for them this year, but he's not a young guy. So, like, I understand the idea, the thought process of wanting to get young guys playoff experience. They just ain't got a whole lot of young guys right now, which we've talked about a lot. They're in that blend, and, the blend just right now with you have so many veterans occupying spots, there's just not a lot of young guys. And that would also mean, I would assume, and if you're not selling at the deadline, including O'Reilly, it means you're probably not selling with guys like Haula and guys like Bunting, who are on expiring deals too, and they're occupying spots in your lineup right now. So, long-term health of the franchise, I think you'd have a hard time convincing me that it wouldn't be better off selling.
Yeah, I think it's the clear path. So, what's the return? We don't know. So that is, I mean, I suspect you're right. Got to see it first, but if it's worthwhile, then I think it's bordering on malpractice to not do it.
615-737-1025, our phone number. We'll take more of your thoughts on the Preds. Plus, an arch nemesis of Tennessee strikes again. We'll get into that. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We'll have Eric Kane from VolQuest coming up here in just a few minutes at 7:30. Joe, the latest on the Sam Levitt front. So Sam Levitt visited Tennessee last week. He's been all over the place. I think he was going down to Miami. Lane Kiffin flew to Knoxville and apparently tried to meet with Sam Levitt and did. And there were reports that he had committed to LSU and Lane Kiffin, that no paperwork had been signed. Tennessee was still in the race trying to get it done, and that there was a race there. I mean, the Joey Aguilar situation's still out there too, but it doesn't look like there's going to be any resolution on that anytime in the immediate near future. So that's kind of floating in the background, all this too. So you got apparently a commitment to LSU from Sam Levitt, but Tennessee and Miami and others still trying to close it in with Levitt as well. So what do you make of Levitt and Lane Kiffin swooping in there? And if it ends up playing out that way where he's just gone and he's going to LSU, I mean, what does Tennessee do at quarterback at that point?
Well, so now Bo Pribula went to Virginia, right?
Yep.
It's not great, man. I understand there's a lot of factors that go into these decisions. But if you're Sam Levitt and everyone has like these pictures of you at the basketball game while DeMond Williams is announcing that he's leaving Washington, and it's quite clear at this point that he was going to go to LSU. How do you, if you're Sam Levitt, how do you go back to Kiffin? Now, again, Kiffin comes up to Knoxville. I know Kiffin knows the Knoxville bars well, so I'm sure he took him to a cool place or whatever. I just don't understand how, again, not just the kid, but like the family, agent, everybody. You're not wary. And I understand everybody out there, and it's a business, and it's like, everybody is looking at different candidates for whatever, for coach, for quarterback. So that's fine. But still, like, you were going to discard him. And I guess you must think that Lane Kiffin's coaching, other things about LSU, maybe the money's just so different, but like if you're Tennessee, you can't let that happen, right? You can't let that happen. You can't let yourself be like way outbid by another SEC school with something this important.
Well, this is shaping up to be a pretty spectacular failure from Josh Heupel in Tennessee. I mean, and I understand that there are different factors involved in all this, and money involved, and I get it. But clearly, they're trying to land a starting quarterback in the portal, right? I mean, they've had conversations with a lot of different quarterbacks at this point. If they were all in on Faison Brandon and George McIntyre being battling it out for the starting quarterback spot next year, then I don't think you'd be talking about this. So clearly they're interested in the starting quarterback. And if it gets through the process, and Adam Sparks just came out with a piece on this too, of like the options are pretty much gone at this point. Like if you get through all this and you don't land one, to me, that's a pretty spectacular failure from Josh Heupel in a prove it off season. I'm sorry, it is. And look, they may end up lucking out anyway. Like it's not like it's impossible for them to be targeting a quarterback in the transfer portal. You don't get him, and then voila, George McIntyre's really good in the fall. I mean, that can happen. But right now, I mean, this is shaping up to be darn near a disaster for Heupel at Tennessee.
Yeah, it's not good. Because I just did Lagway sign? Is he? He's kind of bouncing around. There's Dampier from Utah. Is a guy who I think is talented, but I don't know. Everybody else out there it's like, just go with one of your young guys then. And again, it's good to strike out and be looking at a very promising redshirt freshman and one of the top prospects in the country as your two options. Like, it could be worse. You could have struck out and then be looking at very little in your QB room. But obviously, like you said, they have been very motivated to go out there and figure this out and get someone who can step right in and start. And I guess we're going to possibly here in spring ball. No. It was going to be a competition between these two, and we're very excited. And so then it's next year, critical year for Josh Heupel with a tremendously difficult schedule. It suddenly is going to become about how quickly can probably McIntyre be ready, or I guess is Faison Brandon able to, is he so good that it's like, okay, he's actually in this competition? Like, it's still an interesting / exciting QB situation, but the floor for next year drops, and you could see where it could go bad. And then what does that mean for Josh Heupel?
Well, I mean, right now, he's going to have to. Faison Brandon's going to have to be a part of the competition right now, because they got 2 scholarship quarterbacks.
I guess like, is it like McIntyre? Is there a clear gap? You would think with a year that would be, or is Brandon so good that it's like, oh, he actually could get the job, or this could be a split thing early in the season and they both play. I don't know. I don't know how, as a true freshman, how quickly he can get there. It does seem like with this offense, especially with young quarterbacks,
right.
Obviously veterans come in like we just saw and can operate it, but a young quarterback coming right in and operating it, it seems like Heupel's certainly resistant to that idea typically.
615-737-1025, our phone number. We'll be joined by Eric Kane from VolQuest coming up next. We'll get his thoughts on the quarterback situation for Tennessee and the transfer portal as a whole. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you on this Tuesday morning. Talking some Vols and the transfer portal, and to help us do that, we head to our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in our friend Eric Kane to the program from VolQuest.com and the host of the Locked On Vols podcast. Eric, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Doing awesome, man. Appreciate you taking time to be with us. So, I mean, Eric, obviously, a lot of interest from Tennessee on the Sam Leavitt front last week, and then the Lane train and LSU sneaks in there and grabs him. So, what do you make now of where Tennessee goes from here at quarterback with a lot of the options already gobbled up in the transfer portal? How big of a problem is this right now for Tennessee and for Josh Heupel?
Yeah, that's the $9 million question. That's how much Josh Heupel makes, and he's got to figure that out. It's interesting. I mean, Tennessee always had a lot of interest in Sam Leavitt, and Tennessee, hosted him. He extended his visit to the 48-hour allotment time for a visit, and, Tennessee did about as well as it could, made a competitive offer and all that, and, came to Knoxville from LSU, left Knoxville to go to Miami. Kiffin kind of stepped in there in between. Even after he committed to LSU on Monday morning, I mean, there were national reports that Tennessee was still in dialogue and Tennessee was still trying to swing there. Ultimately, he's going to go to LSU. And I do think that there were some members in his camp that preferred Tennessee over LSU. But at the end of the day, I think Leavitt wanted to be at LSU, and that's where he's going to be. He had Bo Pribula, who Tennessee brought in on a visit at the end of last week, the former Missouri quarterback, and then he left Tennessee, went to Virginia. I think Pribula would have liked to have been in Knoxville. I think Tennessee could have circled back around there yesterday afternoon. Maybe that could have made a difference, but I'm not sure about the fit there between Bo Pribula and Tennessee. But ultimately, those are the only two quarterbacks you brought in town. There's a dead period right now. You can have visitors back on campus on Thursday. The transfer portal closes to get in the portal on Friday into business day. So is there a player out there that has not jumped into the portal? Maybe. There's probably some other quarterbacks in the portal that obviously Tennessee scouted, Tennessee's looking at. And we'll just have to see what comes of that. I mean, end of the day, Tennessee's got to add a quarterback. Joey Aguilar certainly doesn't feel like there's much there that he's going to win his appeal and get another year of eligibility, so you can't count on that. Jake Merklinger is gone. Right now, you just have Faison Brandon and, of course, George McIntyre. At the end of the day, you need a third body no matter what. So Tennessee's going to bring somebody in, but it's kind of almost hitting the reset of the quarterback position right now.
Yeah, it's hard for me to understand, Eric, why, and it's interesting, as you point out that, there's maybe some people in his camp that like Tennessee better. I guess, the fact that you're at a basketball game with Lane Kiffin and then like Damon Williams is apparently going to be coming. And, it's like, hey, Sam, go get some popcorn while I text with Damon Williams here. It's just hard for me to believe that he wants LSU after all that. But I mean, let me ask you this in terms of offer from what you know, because it's hard for me to believe that Tennessee wouldn't be competitive with any offer, in a situation like this. Is your understanding that those were comparable or that there was a big gap?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to pretend like I sit in the room and I know all the numbers of the financials and everything, but no, I mean, I think it was very, very competitive. To my understanding, it was not Tennessee was just blown out of the water. It was not Tennessee wasn't in the same ballpark. I mean, I think Tennessee made a very competitive offer. I think Tennessee was all in, right? And again, at the end of the day, I think LSU's offer could have been better, but also I just think that's where he wanted to be. So I don't think this is the case to where Tennessee just couldn't play in the big leagues or anything like that. I just think that end of the day, despite, in my opinion, some people in his camp wanting to be in Knoxville, I think Sam Leavitt wanted to be in Baton Rouge.
So, Eric, just kind of reading the room here because we know how important this offseason is for Heupel. I think he knows it. I mean, he made the move to fire Tim Banks. He brings in Jim Knowles. Like, it's clearly going to have to get better as they move forward here. And, by the time next fall comes around, I mean, George McIntyre could step out there or Faison Brandon in camp, and they could look great. So it may end up working out for Tennessee. But they've clearly tried to go land a pretty high-level starting quarterback in the transfer portal here. And if they just strike out on that and it ends up where you're having to play one of the young guys next year at quarterback and it just doesn't go all that well, I mean, how much of a disaster could this be for Josh Heupel in terms of striking out on the quarterback position in the transfer portal?
Yeah, I mean, it could be bad. I mean, we all know the schedule's very tough. SEC's going to a 9-game schedule. We know the home slate where Tennessee welcomes in LSU. They have a couple of different, and Texas is coming to town. I mean, the schedule gets tougher, right? And I think it's a pivotal year for Josh Heupel. It was 8-4 this year, and you had an offense that was good enough to compete and go win any game. Your defense was not good, and it got kind of loud there towards the end. I mean, if you have another season like that or a season that's worse than that, I think for Josh Heupel, it gets really, really loud, right? So I think this is a pivotal year. And to your point, he's made the changes, went out there and got a proven, experienced defensive coordinator. That defensive coordinator has surrounded himself with some coaches that he likes, that he's coached with in the past. They've gone out and gotten some impact players from Penn State that can come over and not only play, but kind of help jumpstart that defense in terms of communication and leading by example and all that. And I think they've added some impact players. So, I think he's made some necessary moves here, but also on the quarterback front, yeah, you would love to have Sam Leavitt and all that, but I'm not going to sit here and say that everything's roses or anything, but goodness gracious, I mean, Joe Milton was a 3,000-yard guy here in Tennessee. You went out and got Joey Aguilar, who was at Appalachian State. I know he was at UCLA, but at Appalachian State, and he led the SEC in passing. I mean, I understand you got to be good at quarterback to win games. Josh Heupel's gotten the best out of pretty much every quarterback he's coached here at Tennessee, to be completely honest. So, is there another guy? I'm not saying that there's Trinidad Chambliss all around or Joey Aguilar's all around, but could Tennessee find a guy like that at a lower level here before the transfer portal period, the cycle ends? We'll see what happens. And you bring that guy in to compete with Faison Brandon, who's top 10 overall player in this signing class, and George McIntyre, who's got a whole lot of talent, and just see what happens. But yeah, I mean, the schedule stuff, you're going to be unproven at quarterback, at least right now, so it's going to be a challenge regardless of who's playing quarterback for Tennessee.
Yeah, you led me right into what my question was going to be there, Eric, which is that exact point. That Tennessee is all over the place last year looking for a quarterback. They settle on Aguilar. Look what he does. Trinidad Chambliss, just a throw-in backup from Ferris State, and he was, I think, one of the best players in college football this year for Ole Miss in basically the same offense. So I guess so like you said, they could go. There's some FCS guys. They could go and find someone who can compete. It's obviously not going to be your slam dunk. This is the starter guy. But why can't McIntyre in year 2 succeed? I understand he probably needs to still put weight on. And then with Brandon, how, because again, it seems like veteran quarterbacks can come in, pick up this offense and go. But true freshman a little bit different. Is it asking too much for him as a true freshman to grasp this, or do you foresee a scenario where he actually could get in there and compete to start?
Yeah, I'm excited to see what he looks like when he gets on campus, certainly in spring ball. I mean, the intangibles are through the roof. He missed some time as a senior with an injury, but he came back towards the end of the season, and he was phenomenal in the playoffs as Grimley won another state title. So there's obviously a lot of potential there. I mean, everything you want in a quarterback that Josh Heupel wants is there. Now, he needs to get into a collegiate strength conditioning program. He needs to get used to the speed of the game, to making the right reads in the Josh Heupel offense, to seeing the defenses. I mean, there's a lot there. And just like with any young player, any player in particular, the more reps you get, the more comfortable and the better you see it. And, George McIntyre is already a year ahead of Faison Brandon. So, both those guys can get bigger. George McIntyre specifically can put on a little bit more weight. I think that conversation's a bit overblown, but at the end of the day, he does need to put on some weight, and we'll see what happens. I mean, George McIntyre is interesting. He came from a high school where he had it's almost like the Jared Garantano route of high school. Like, he had a couple different head coaches, a couple different offenses, and he still put up some really good numbers and played some really, really good teams. And then found his way here at Tennessee, had a really good fall camp, and certainly just kind of spent the year watching Joey Aguilar and trying to get up to speed in that regard. So it'll be interesting. Yeah, I mean, there's no reason to think that those two guys cannot compete to be the guy. But in this era of the transfer portal, when you can just go out and get a proven guy or a veteran, it just kind of makes the fan base feel a lot better about your options. And again, they're going to add somebody. It might be a lower level guy. It might be somebody that's not in the portal right now. They will add somebody, and ultimately, if it's not one of those sitting starting quarterbacks somewhere else, there's going to be a competition, and those two guys, those young guys, will have every opportunity to go out there and win that job.
Eric, last thing for you here. You mentioned the additions on defense coming from Penn State. How big a deal is the Chaz Coleman move specifically in your mind for Tennessee?
I think it's big. It's a guy that didn't play an awful lot as a freshman. I think he played 8 or 9 games or whatever. Didn't have many stats, but the potential is just skyrocketed through the roof. He's number 3 in the on-3 transfer portal rankings, a former highly rated prospect, and Jim knows all about him. He wanted him here, and that was one of Tennessee's primary targets when the portal opened, was beating out Ohio State for Chaz Coleman, and Tennessee did just that. Not only that, he reunites with his position coach, his defensive ends coach, and Andrew A.J. Jackson, who came over from Penn State with Jim Knowles, along with Rodney Gardner up front. And then you talk about the linebacker, Amari Campbell, who is one of the most productive players in the transfer portal. He's a leader. He knows the defense. Jim Knowles, William Inge is your linebackers coach, but Jim Knowles is a linebackers coach as well. There's familiarity there. And then you look at the back end with Anthony Poindexter, who came from Penn State, and you have Dwan Lane, who's a safety who knows the system. So starting with Chaz Coleman to Amari Campbell, the linebacker, to Dwan Lane, the safety, I'm not trying to overblow this, but I do think there's something there coming from the same system, being coached by the same guys, and they're going to play for Tennessee, and they can also help Tennessee's current players get up to speed. I think these were monster additions. Tennessee's not done. They need to add another defensive tackle. They need to add probably 2 to 3 more guys in the secondary. But outside of quarterback, I think Tennessee's done a really good job in this class.
Well, Eric, great stuff as always, man. Appreciate you taking time to be with us this morning. Going to be interested to see how Tennessee closes it out here in the portal, and we will talk to you soon, my friend.
Sounds great, guys. Thanks so much.
Yep, Eric Kane, our guest here on the program from VolQuest.com and the Locked On Vols podcast as well. We will have the Rob rant coming up next. Joe, I do want to get some quick news to you. Jordan Schultz putting it out there that the Titans are interviewing former Giants head coach Brian Daboll for their head coaching job this Friday. So that is the first known head coaching interview for Brian Daboll in this cycle as well.
Interview them all. Interview them all, Titans.
So there you go. Add Daboll to the list. We'll have the Rob rant coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game.
Don't make me angry.
Sometimes you have to tell someone to pound sand.
You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
This is the Rob Rant. Now on Robby and Rexrode.
Like I said, I'm Ron Burgundy.
I'm going to be honest with you. You look like a succulent baby lamb.
Where's the discipline?
Yeah.
We need a hard ass in there. Did you know you're my wonder wall?
I mean, if you're going to have the milky pool, you need to be prepared for colder weather, right?
I would let them pee around the field. And then you were very good with us and said a lot of nice comments. Peter, I really appreciate how nice you are.
One half is cooking, and the other half is completely raw.
It is time for the Rob Rant, brought to you by Functional Medicine of Tennessee. Heal from the inside out. Check them out at functionalmedicineoftennessee.net. Joe, I want to speak today about maybe, in my opinion, the hottest take I saw all weekend, okay? And this comes from former NFL quarterback, former USC great, Matt Leinart, who put it out there. Quote, if Matthew Stafford wins another Super Bowl, I think it's time to start putting him in that top 5 quarterbacks of all time conversation, end quote. Now, obviously, that requires Matthew Stafford and the LA Rams to go win the Super Bowl here, which they very well may do. You know, before the year, I had the Rams and the Bills in the Super Bowl, still alive. So we'll see how it goes coming down the stretch here. The Rams absolutely are capable of winning the Super Bowl here. And let me be clear. I think Matthew Stafford's a great player. I think Matthew Stafford is a Hall of Famer. So I have all the respect in the world for Matthew Stafford, the career that he's put forth, and the way that he's played. Top 5 quarterback of all time. And I understand that he's assuming another Super Bowl in this conversation. Let's just think about that for a second. I mean, Tom Brady's in there. Joe Montana's in there. I would assume that we would all agree that Peyton Manning's been a better quarterback in the NFL than Matthew Stafford has been. I mean, there's Patrick Mahomes, who's playing right now. There's guys like Aaron Rodgers and Drew Brees and Steve Young and John Elway and Dan Marino. I mean, we can keep going up and down the list. There's all sorts of guys that I would put ahead of Matthew Stafford in terms of what they've accomplished in the NFL. So again, I feel like this is going to require me to bash Matthew Stafford, and I don't want to. I like Matthew Stafford. I think Matthew Stafford's a great player. I think Matthew Stafford is and should be in the Hall of Fame one day. But if he wins another Super Bowl, am I going to think that Matt Stafford is a top 5 greatest quarterback to ever play the game? No, I think you're crazy. I think it's insane to say that. So I want to congratulate Matt Leinart on the hottest take of the weekend. All due respect to Matthew Stafford. Even if they go win another Super Bowl here, he ain't a top 5 quarterback to ever play the game. I'm sorry.
I mean, has anybody ever heard of Dan Fouts around here?
I mean, come on.
I mean, do I have to remind you? Now, that's just that's one of those. I do this sometimes too. I think people do this where it's like, oh, this has got to be a top 10. Yeah, I mean, I'll do it God, that's got to be a top 10 movie of all time for me. And then it's like, okay, list them. And it's like, okay, I've got 27. So what's
like
really
when you called
10?
Mason Rudolph top 3 backup, and then we started to list them?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. It's like, I mean, even Stafford this year, you would definitely say so. I mean, he's an MVP.
Sure.
I would say even in the last few years, could we at all times say he's one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league right now? Like when Mahomes, Allen, Lamar, Burrow, that's kind of been your clear top 4. I don't think he's always been the next guy, has he?
Not always. I mean, there's certainly been times where he has, but yeah, not always.
So top 5 of all time? That's outrageously stupid.
I mean, again, I love Matthew Stafford. He's put together a great career. And by the way, as you know, Joe, a lot of that includes suffering through being the quarterback of the Detroit Lions. And I understand he had Calvin Johnson at the time, but being the quarterback of the Detroit Lions once upon a time was not an enviable task out there. But I mean,
No.
by the time he's said and done, I mean, his numbers are going to be outrageous. I mean, he's already thrown for 64,000 yards. He's thrown for 423 touchdowns. He's a Hall of Fame quarterback. He's a great player, but top 5 quarterback of all time. If they win another Super Bowl, I think we need to further eliminate people from just saying stuff. I'm just going to say it. And then I'm not going to actually put any thought into it. I'm just going to say it. Top 5 quarterback of all time. No, he's not even close to a top 5 quarterback of all time. I'm sorry.
Is he top? Is he top 25?
I mean,
I have my
to go
doubts.
through it, but he's probably in the neighborhood of it. Yeah, but like again, there's nothing wrong with that. It's Hall of Fame.
No,
But
yeah. Oh, that's absolutely Hall. Oh, we had the hot argument after the Rams won it about does he now have a chance to be in the Hall of Fame?
Right.
There were some people on our station vehemently arguing against that idea. I think now we're probably, and especially like if he gets the MVP, if they make a run here, another run, I think he's getting to the point where it's going to be hard to keep him out, right?
yeah, I mean, you tell me who you'd rather like. I mean, again, we can go down this list, I think, pretty deep, but like all time, you taking Matt Stafford, you taking Drew Brees. You taking Matt Stafford, you taking Aaron Rodgers. You taking Matt Stafford, you taking John Elway. I mean, we can do that for a long time. I think.
Yeah, I'm taking. Well, I mean, Brees, I guess could, but some of the people, yeah, there's no question. Manning and all those guys, absolutely. Elway, Marino. I might take Stafford over Joe Montana, but Tom Brady. But no, just kidding. Like, here's a great one on the text line. He's still behind Jim Kelly. You know, that's a really interesting one. I think I would agree. I mean, Jim Kelly, never won it, but he was a tremendous quarterback. I think top of the league quarterback with an offense that was kind of a little bit ahead of its time there in the early 90s. Yeah. You compare the numbers and they're in Stafford's favor, but that's also football today versus then. It's just hard to compare the eras. But yeah, I'd agree right there. Jim Kelly. I think if you really went through, again, are we okay? So are we including Johnny Unitas and Otto Graham, and Bart Starr? Okay, well then he's nowhere near the top 25 in my opinion. If you really went through the list, I think he might be a Casey Kasem top 40 quarterback.
Nice. Very nice. I mean, just, again, I feel like this is requiring me to bash Stafford, and I'm not trying to, but he's a really good Hall of Fame level player. And look, I understand, like, from a passing yardage standpoint, to that point, I would encourage people one day when you get a little bit of time, go through, like, the top 50 names in terms of pure passing yards that people have put up in their career. You'll be stunned at some of the names you find on there that are recent just because of the way the game's played now. Like Kirk Cousins is 19th in the history of the NFL in passing yards with 44,700 yards. Russell Wilson is 16th. Joe Flacco is 14th. Like Andy Dalton is number 26. You want to know who's top 30 already in the history of the NFL in passing yards, Joe? Jared Goff at number 27. Tannehill's 38th in the history of the league in passing yards. So it's just it's a different time when you're trying to compare. Like if you're just going straight up passing yards, it's hard to do that in today's game with just how much more people throw the football.
Right. Yeah. You really have to be very careful. And those names should tell anybody, that it's just that's not how you can really want to make these comparisons. I mean, a lot of it is winning, but it's also producing within that time period. You mentioned Goff, by the way, just to point out, what this year, let's see, what did he do this year? He threw for 4,500, 7.9 an attempt, 34 touchdowns, 8 picks with a 105.5 rating with a line that kind of sucked. So, even Goff, and I'm not like, I have a different view of Goff. Like Stafford has gone in the last few years too close to Hall of Fame lock. Goff's better than I thought he was a few years ago. I mean, absolutely. I mean, he's pretty freaking good. But yeah, I mean, like there's a lot of guys like that who, like, I would not expect Goff to be in the Hall of Fame. Dak going to be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, probably not. But there's a lot of these guys that are going to have gaudy numbers when they retire.
Oh, and to be clear, like Stafford is 6th in the history of the league in passing yard. That's an accomplishment, right? Like you're 64,000 yards deep in your career. Only Rodgers, Favre, Manning, Brees, and Brady are ahead of him. So that's great. Like there's something to be said for that. I'm not saying you just don't pay attention to it, but top 5 quarterback in the history of the game. I would love, like, if the average fan ranked their quarterbacks, I'd love to know like where Stafford eventually ends up on the list and whether it's in the top 20.
Real fast, Texture does say top 5 arm talent question.
Probably
Now
that, yes.
I think then he's higher on the list.
I would say so too. Let's quickly head to our phone line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in Mark in Nashville to the program. Mark, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Yeah, what's going on, Robby? Joe, you know you woke me up. I was listening to you. I knew you were going to take a dig at Joe Money. I felt it coming. Joe, you need to stop that, man. Quit disrespecting this man. Come on, Joe. Come on, Joe. We know Joe Money.
He was very good.
We know,
He wasn't as good as Steve
yeah.
Young, but he was very good.
Oh, come on, Joe. Steve Young was a great athlete, Joe, but he wasn't better than Joe. What about all those games Steve Young choked in, Joe? He couldn't get past Dallas. It took forever to get past Dallas. Joe Money would have won those games and had more Super Bowls had he been playing at that time. So
Joe Money
Young,
never played, but he never played those Dallas great teams. He was in Kansas City, not winning playoff games for the Chiefs at that time.
He couldn't help it, though. I know, but he couldn't. But look what he done with Kansas City, Joe. He damn near got him to a Super Bowl. I mean, Joe Money, look, behind Tom Brady, you got Joe Money, then Elway and those guys. Matt Stafford, I'd put him in the top 25. I really would, man. I mean, he's, without another Super Bowl, I would put him in the top 25. But you're right. You got to think about guys like Dan Fouts. And, Dan Fouts was a tone setter, man. Dan Fouts was a beast, man. He was great. He was. Couldn't get to that Super Bowl, but I'm not going to take that away from him. I mean, he was a great all-time quarterback. But, Joe, you're going to have to respect that, Joe Money now. You can't keep taking these digs, Joe. You know I'm going to call you when I hear about it. Yeah, I know it has, Joe. And every time you say something, I'm going to call in and call you on it. Every time. Because you know I listen to you. But, hey, Robby, I know y'all had a meltdown the other night. I hate that, man. And even Ben Johnson disrespected your guy.
He did.
Matt LaFleur. If I was Matt LaFleur, I'd have chased him off that field and fought him. He had to disrespect me like that. But I don't think firing him is going to get – he's a good coach, Robby. But that was a heck of a meltdown. I wouldn't fire him. I know you want him out of there, Robby. I don't know who you would bring in that's better.
I think I'd have you coach, Mark.
I'd
have you coach before LaFleur, I think.
Oh yeah, just give me time to look over my Madden plays and let me script about 25 good plays, Robby. I'll make that happen for you. But I wouldn't get rid of Matt LaFleur, Robby. He's a good coach, man. I'd give him at least one more year. I mean, now they're gonna have to fix that defense. I think the defensive coordinator, Haffney, I think he's the one that let them down, man. And I know they got injuries, but Robby, they need a lot of help. Secondary is porous. Gary didn't have a great second half of the season, especially with Parsons being down. But I wouldn't fire that guy. But Joe, stop taking digs at my boy now. You know how I feel about Uncle Joe Money now. He pays me every month. Pays me. I'll see y'all later, man.
See you, Mark. Appreciate it. We'll continue the discussion on the Matt Stafford discourse here. Pretty wild on the text line. Also, we'll get back into the Titans head coaching search. What's going to happen with Mike Tomlin now that the Steelers are out? The latest on Harbaugh. The Titans are apparently interviewing Brian Daboll. We'll get into all of it. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Final hour, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you on this Tuesday morning. We are live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We got Titans coaching search news to get into this hour. What's going to happen with Mike Tomlin now that the Steelers have been eliminated? John Harbaugh has interviewed with the Falcons and is interviewing apparently with more teams later on in the week. The Titans just keep rolling out candidates that they're going to be talking to, and the latest report is that you can add former Giants head coach Brian Daboll to the list of people that the Titans are interviewing. So we'll take your thoughts on all that throughout the rest of the hour. Let's head to our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in Adam in Portland to the program. Adam, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Hey, Robby, man. Hey, so does this, and I jumped in kind of late, but does it, like, is it a big blow to Art that they got smoked like they did last night? Is he still a viable candidate, or did that hurt him? Because I know, like, the Titans sucked way worse than first offense, and we played Texas pretty tough that second game. So I don't know. I the whole game I was like, man, Houston felt so elite, but I'm like, oh God, this is gonna hurt Art. So I was gonna see what y'all thought about Art.
Yeah, thank you for the call, Adam. I mean, I think it has to a little bit, right, Joe? I mean, you know, I think this place with the connection with Arthur Smith is probably a little bit different. But I think a lot of that also, Joe, is just us assuming that. Like, I'm not aware of any sort of direct connection between Arthur Smith and Mike Borgonzi, right? Like, so, I mean, if Mike Borgonzi is the one leading the search, I don't think that there's a direct connection there. Now, there is a direct connection between Arthur Smith and Amy Adams Strunk and a lot of people in the organization, so it's easy to go there. But, you know, does he get serious consideration for the job? I don't know. I kind of felt iffy about that anyway. Last night certainly doesn't help. But to your point, like last night, you can blame a lot of that on Arthur Smith, I guess, if you want to. That's a darn good defense that they played, and a Pittsburgh offense with a 42-year-old quarterback, with DK Metcalf, who's been okay all year long. And Rodgers has talked about this a little bit. They kind of just scrounged it together with guys that don't have a ton of background in the NFL. So I'm not sure exactly all the tools that Arthur Smith had to work with this year. Rodgers was fine. I mean, he was good, especially when you factor in he's 42-year-old quarterback. But it's not like Arthur Smith, you look at that Pittsburgh offense and it's like, man, look at all the weapons he's got to deal with out here.
No, and down the stretch, no DK. But I don't see Arthur Smith being a heavily interviewed guy for head coaching jobs this cycle. Some of that is just because of all the names that are clearly slot in above him.
Yeah.
I guess I wouldn't be shocked if the Titans interview him. But like you said, the people in charge of the search, that's there's no connection. I mean, some people are going to probably unfairly knock him. It's like, you had Aaron Rodgers. I mean, but Aaron Rodgers there's a reason he's about to, I think, retire, because it's just he has diminished. And especially like being able to move. That's where it wasn't that long ago. He could still get out of the pocket and really give teams trouble. And it's just not there. They were totally overwhelmed last night. I don't know what OC comes up with way better answers than Arthur Smith did, given the matchups that they were just losing. And just given how, I mean, a lot of this is just like the Texans. It's incredible how well they all tackle and swarm to the ball. Like their DBs, they have great coverage corners, but also like they absolutely tackle everything in the run game.
Yeah.
To go with just an incredible defensive line. And look at watching Danico Autry last night. I'm like, geez, man, he and Jeff Simmons could have had some good years together still, watching what he's doing there. It's just, it's hard to put much blame on Arthur Smith, but I also just don't see how there's much momentum for him to be anything other than somebody's OC next season.
Well, and, building off that from the Steelers' point of view, they have not won a playoff game since 2016. I think that's 7 in a row that they've now lost. You've got Mike Tomlin, who has won a Super Bowl there, but it's been a long time. It's been a long time since they put together a deep playoff run, and you're already in a coaching cycle where it's very busy. I mean, there's a lot of names out there, a lot of jobs that are open. You've got John Harbaugh that is kind of the belle of the ball right now when it comes to the head coaching candidates. What's going to happen with Tomlin? Like, are Steelers decision makers in line with a lot of what their fan base seems to be in line with, hey, man, it's just we like Mike Tomlin, we love Mike Tomlin, but it's time. Like, it's time to move on. Do the Steelers decision makers feel that way? Does ownership feel that way? How does Mike Tomlin feel about, his situation in Pittsburgh, knowing that, at some point here, you look, maybe Rodgers gets through this and he wants to come back for one more year, and he's, talked about how much he loved it in Pittsburgh this year, and all that's great. But do you think the picture is going to be all that much different with Aaron Rodgers next year at age 43, where you're like legitimately competing for a Super Bowl? Pretty hard for me to get there. So at some point, you're going to have to find that next quarterback. And look, maybe they love Will Howard, and they took Will Howard last year in the draft. Maybe they think it's him. But the likelihood is it's probably going to have to be a high pick here, either this year or next year, when it comes to the next quarterback for Pittsburgh. So does Mike Tomlin want to go through that part of it too? Like, it's over the next couple of days here, Joe, going to be really interesting to see what happens with him, and can you add his name to the list in what's already a very busy head coaching cycle?
Yeah, and I can see him just looking at it and being like, it's okay, so young quarterback has got to be the way again. Defense, key pillars of this defense are aging out here pretty fast. It's just that's one of the things. I mean, look at what the Texans did run the ball against them last night, but they have some great players on defense who are in the twilight, just like Aaron Rodgers. And so if you're Mike Tomlin, as much as you, I'm sure, love the organization, ownership, city, and all that stuff, I could talk myself into, like, I could have a fresh start and a place where I actually have a better chance to win in the next couple of years and build on that than what the Steelers have. They're going to pick 21st, and who's there for that? So does that mean you have to try to mortgage future to move up to get a quarterback who shouldn't even be picked as high as you're moving up to pick him? A lot of reasons that it just doesn't look great in the near future for Pittsburgh.
615-737-1025, our phone number. What's going to happen with Mike Tomlin if he does become available? Where does he rank on your list of who you'd like to see hired by the Titans as their next head coach? We'll get into that coming up next. We'll give you the latest info on the John Harbaugh front, all that coming up. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game.
do you approach a decision about your future?
I'm not even in that mindset as I sit here tonight. I'm more in the mindset of what transpired in the stadium and, certainly what we did and didn't do. Not a big picture mentality as I sit here tonight.
As Mike Tomlin after the game last night, Texans win 30-6 against Pittsburgh, and the divisional matchups now set in the NFL. Pittsburgh out again in the playoffs. Taking your thoughts on Mike Tomlin. Could he enter the coaching fray here that's already very busy this offseason? We'll give you the latest on John Harbaugh here in just a few minutes. Preds fans, Smashville Live returning tomorrow night at 6 o'clock on 102.5 The Game, live from Brewhouse South in Cool Springs. Meet your Pred star players up close and personal. Get your chance for autographs and pictures as well. Ozzie Weisblatt and Reed Schaefer will be the guests coming up tomorrow. That's tomorrow night, Brewhouse South in Cool Springs, and only on 102.5 The Game. So, Joe, let me ask you, if Tomlin shakes loose here and it's either a firing in Pittsburgh or a mutual parting of ways or whatever it ends up being, let's just play that out and say he becomes available. If you're the Titans, if you're a Titans fan looking at the options at that point, I mean, Harbaugh's out there. Tomlin in that scenario would be out there. The Titans are interviewing like 18 other people, so there's all sorts of available candidates that they're going to have. Where does Tomlin go on your list, Rexrode, if he ends up being available and is done in Pittsburgh?
Well, it would be, to me, it would be like 1A, 1B, Harbaugh, Tomlin. I may be simplistic, but I just don't see, I understand, like a Steelers fan right now would be like, have you noticed, like, offensively how bad it's been and all that stuff? And I get that, and he's tried different OCs and stuff like that. But again, I just think it's a quarterback thing more than anything. Or like, they'll get it's like they can never get enough playmakers too. Like, it was a good pickup to get DK Metcalf, but then Pickens is out. Pickens a tremendous talent, but I get it too. Like, Pickens is a pain in the butt. So they just have not done a good enough job of building up that roster. Now, look, with anything like this, and I think more so with Tomlin than with Harbaugh, you definitely, if you're going through the hiring process and you're looking at these coaches, I mean, like to know like how involved Tomlin has been in some of their missteps, but so much of it is quarterback. Like Pickett, that's just that pick is just, that's one of those things that sets you back when you make a mistake like that, when you draft baby hands. So that's, the issue on his side is sort of this consistent mediocrity lately, while Harbaugh does not have that, but they're all over the map. But Harbaugh's had a quarterback. So I look at both of them, and they would be my top two candidates. And I might give the edge to Tomlin just in terms of his age compared to Harbaugh. If you can establish something like they've had in Pittsburgh, like they've had in Baltimore, you got a lot more runway with Tomlin. Titans have talked about, just like PK said, they've talked about what do they want. They describe a coach. They're kind of describing Vrabel. Well, Tomlin, that's what he is, right? Yeah. He's a culture coach, and like you immediately raise your floor to, you will no longer be embarrassing. That may not be exciting, but let's also remember the guys won a Super Bowl, and the guy had teams that went deep consistently when he had a quarterback.
Yeah, I would go Harbaugh 1, Tomlin 2, I think is how I would rank them. But, I mean, I would be happy with either one if I'm a Titans fan. I mean, one thing that both of them clearly do, and we can have the debate on how important this ultimately is, but, I mean, Borgonzi's made it pretty clear. Like, they are looking for somebody to come in here and establish some level of leadership, some level of accountability, and for lack of a better buzzword, Joe, a culture around here that they feel like they've been missing. And that goes back to, Jeffrey Simmons talked about that a few weeks ago while the season was still going on, that they needed somebody to come in here and do that. And, I mean, unequivocally, Harbaugh and Tomlin do that, right? Like they immediately check that box. Now, ultimately, if they come in and they're great culture people, but they can't figure out how to get things developed with a quarterback, or, the offense just totally continues to sputter like under Tomlin, then is that going to matter at some point? Of course it is. But, I mean, very clearly, those two are at the top of the list when it comes to that part of what Borgonzi has described about this job. And then, we've talked about Tomlin. He's never had a losing season in Baltimore. I know in Pittsburgh. I know Baltimore just went 8-9. There was another 8-9 season they had in 2021 when Lamar was hurt. And I think he's had a couple of 8-8s in there and won 5-11 back in 2015. With Harbaugh, basically since he got there in 2008, there's a whole lot of 11, 12, 10, 14, 13, 10, 12 win seasons all over the board from beginning to end. And look, I just think there's a reason all these teams are incredibly interested in John Harbaugh. If Tomlin gets added to the list, it'll be the same thing. There will be a lot of teams incredibly interested in him. And then until the LaFleur thing is settled, we'll see what happens on that front. But I think most Titans fans, regardless of whether it's number one or number two, you've got those two at the top of your list in whatever order.
Yeah. Texter bring up a point on I guess if you want to compare and contrast like what apparently Harbaugh, again, there's been some disputing of this, but like the demands, full control if that's truly what he wants, and whatever, 20 mil or whatever. I mean, is Tomlin I'm just a ball coach? Is Tomlin give me 20 million? I mean, I guess is it a better deal for you to look at Tomlin than Harbaugh? Like,
well, I would assume if Amy wants either one of those guys, you're gonna have to pay. You're gonna have to pay up to get.
Oh, sure, you have to pay a lot for sure. But then also the control thing. Does that matter? Look, to me, like if John Harbaugh's like, okay, I'm in, but I want final say. I want the 53, whatever it is. Then I think it's okay if you're the Titans. It's not like, well, we just put out a press release and I want to change that. I mean, I think you change it, but I don't know. Is it more appealing if you believe in your structure and you think Borgonzi is who you want making these decisions, these final decisions on personnel? Like, does that make it more appealing if if a Tomlin says he doesn't care? I don't know.
Let's head to our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in Doug in Franklin to the program. Doug, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Hey, good morning, guys. Hey, just want to make a quick comment on leadership. With Vrabel, with Tomlin, with Harbaugh, none of those guys call plays. They're not a coordinator. Seems like a easier way to develop leadership, and it seems to be a history of that when there's not a coordinator. And I know there's success on both sides, but there are strong leaderships for those individuals that are not coordinators. Just wanted to hear your comments.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it, Doug. And, I mean, look, there's no doubt. I mean, Vrabel has, gotten the benefit this year of Josh McDaniels doing a great job as offensive coordinator. We know the type of leader that Vrabel is. Harbaugh, same stuff. Now, I will say this. One thing that's interesting about Harbaugh when it comes to fit here, Joe, and you brought this up yesterday. I don't know that if they hire John Harbaugh that it's going to be Todd Monken coming in as offensive coordinator. It's probably likely that Todd Monken is coming in as offensive coordinator at that point. And look, John Harbaugh has been the head coach of Lamar Jackson. He was also the head coach when Joe Flacco was his quarterback. So it's not like they can't run an offense for different style of quarterbacks. But is there any concern on that front? We've talked about Tomlin, and they have not been able to figure out the offensive side of the ball with any sort of consistency basically since Big Ben was in his prime. Now, do you worry about that with Harbaugh coming from the place they were just at, the style of play that they played? That's just you're not going to play that way here with Cam Ward.
Yeah. And I also like with Tomlin, because you kind of feel like it's package deal with Harbaugh. And I think that, you're able to do different things and adjust to different things. Like, is Tomlin just wide open on that front? Is Tomlin like, actually, Art's my guy? Is Tomlin like, if you talk to Tomlin, like, what would you think of, Mike McDaniel as your OC? Are you open to that? Like, how does Tomlin, to me, Tomlin he's a defensive guy who, that's the thing, like Harbaugh is a special teams guy, technically, right? But Tomlin is the defensive guy who, to me, it's kind of like I need a head coach of the offense. So is he open on that front? And then can you find a really good OC? And again, what about if it is Art? What if Tomlin's like, look, I believe in Arthur Smith, and we had tough go this year, but he's really good. I'd be interested to know what Titans fans think about a Tomlin Arthur Smith pairing.
We'll dive a little bit deeper into the Brian Daboll part of this as well. Coming up next, who is now apparently also going to be interviewing with the Tennessee Titans. Are we reaching the point where maybe the interview pool is getting a little bit too deep? We'll get into that coming up next. Robby
Deep
and
and
Rexrode,
milky.
102.5 The Game.
just a short time ago, the Atlanta Falcons announced that they've completed an interview with John Harbaugh, which would seem to be the first known interview he's done since being fired by Baltimore a week ago. But let's put this into context. The truth of the matter is, John Harbaugh has been home trying to figure out and map out his future. He has been in contact, talking with the New York Giants, the Tennessee Titans, the Cleveland Browns, the Arizona Cardinals, the Las Vegas Raiders. He himself has had the very same types of conversations he had today with the Atlanta Falcons.
So that was Schefter discussing the interview that John Harbaugh did with the Atlanta Falcons. So Atlanta puts it out there yesterday, Joe, that they completed an interview with John Harbaugh. Schefter talking about it there. It was basically like, yeah, I mean, it's kind of the same stuff that he's already been doing from his house with the Titans and with the Browns and with all these coaching situations, vacancies that are open. So, we talked earlier in the show about the Atlanta opening, right? I mean, there are parts about that job that look attractive if you're John Harbaugh. You've got Bijan Robinson. You've got some players on the defensive side of the ball that I think you're excited about. You've got some pass catchers that you're excited about. But I think you have to be at least concerned with Penix in the injury situation. Now, maybe with Matt Ryan coming in there, maybe there is a plan to do something different at quarterback. I mean, I don't know. I'm going to connect Malik Willis to everyone now, Joe. Malik Willis is going to be, by the time I'm said and done this offseason, named the starting quarterback for about 11 different teams. That's my goal. So maybe Malik Willis is the guy in Atlanta. What do you think?
It's like, do we actually think, like, is there going to be a team that says Malik Willis is our guy? We're going all in on Malik Willis.
All in, I don't know. Do I think that he's going to have a legitimate chance to open the season next year as somebody's starting quarterback? Yes, I do.
That's amazing. And again, it's amazing. I'm not saying it's amazing because I think that's such a terrible idea. I'm watching him and I'm like, man, he looks awfully good. It's just so hard to get over, the time here and the struggles and how different it looks. Which, if you are disappointed today and you find out that Matt LaFleur did sign a contract extension, at least hopefully you can comfort yourself with that. It's remarkable. All credit to Malik, but also Matt LaFleur must have some answers on stuff like that.
Now, if he can learn to count, we can get the next step going.
Well, pluses and minuses. Yeah, that's a really interesting thought. But yeah, I mean, I can see it, man. I can see it for sure. He's improved so much. So,
I mean, to that point, like, somebody's going to take a shot on him, right? Like, here we are off season after off season in the NFL with all these quarterbacks. And I know Malik's situation is a little different, but these quarterbacks ending up in different spots after struggling early in their career and then growing as a player and then coming out and being pretty good the next time they get an opportunity. Like, I'm not saying that Malik Willis has the same talent level of like a Sam Darnold or Baker Mayfield or, high first round picks that we're talking about here. But he is, I think he's done enough with the limited opportunities he's gotten the last couple of years where somebody's probably going to take a shot on him and see if he could be their starting quarterback. Like, that seems to be happening more and more in today's NFL.
It does. I still I would entertain, and I don't even know what situation it would be. I would entertain a competition.
Yeah.
I'd be hesitant on
just naming him outright the guy.
Yeah. But no, look, he's an exciting young player and he's and this was true here. Like, tremendous attitude and intangibles and all that stuff. Just came to work every day and didn't complain and just kept plugging. It's just like I just didn't see where it was going, and all of a sudden he gets it got better before he left, but it still was kind of like, I mean, when he got traded, when you go back and listen to our show, I'm sure it was like the same thing. Like, okay, now can he establish himself as a QB2 who can have a career as a QB2 in this league? That's a good career. It's a good life. And boom, he is elevated past that. So Yeah, Carson saying yes, he will be the Steelers'
We'll
starting
see.
QB next season. We'll see. Maybe Tomlin stays, Malik comes, and they take over the AFC. I mean, who knows? At this point, very few things would surprise me anymore.
What do you make of Brian Daboll apparently being interviewed by the Titans as well? Jordan Schultz put that out there, and now others have reported it as well, that Brian Daboll will be interviewed by the Titans later this week. It's the first one that I've seen where he is actually being interviewed to be a head coach in the NFL this offseason. So, look, I mean, it's clear the Titans, we've talked about, hey, interview as many people as you can when this whole thing started. That's clearly the approach that they're taking from everybody from Jason Garrett to Brian Daboll to some of these coordinators that are coming up that haven't been head coaches before. What do you make of Daboll now being added to the list?
Well, I look at it the same way, not the same exact situation, but it's like if you interview a Kingsbury, to me, it's like in my back of my mind, and maybe this is not how the Titans look at it, but in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, could this be our OC? Daboll got a lot of credit for, he was there during those years with Josh Allen where it went from pretty freaking bad to great. So obviously that's what got him the opportunity with the Giants. I mean, he seems like a bit of a loose cannon. I'd be really hesitant to hire him as my head coach based on just some of the stuff with his coordinators and everything. I don't know that he has the demeanor to be the CEO of a team, but he seems to be pretty good with quarterbacks and offense. So interview him, because it got, someone like that, like McDaniel and a lot of other people, they want to be interviewed to be head coaches.
Yeah.
But they also have to understand that your landing spot is most likely as an OC. So do this interview, and then maybe they'll hire a head coach that you would like to work with, and you'll have your pick of good OC jobs. That's how I look at it. I don't take him seriously as a head coaching candidate for the Tennessee Titans.
I guess I don't either. I think Herndon just put out a list of how many names are. I think the Titans are up to 18 people. It's a lot. There are a lot of people on this list right now. That's not even factoring in Harbaugh, right? Like Harbaugh, you're hoping to interview. What if Tomlin joins the list? I mean, by the time this thing's all said and done, Titans could have interviewed 28 people.
I mean, hey, you know what? I mean, load it up. What else have you got to do over there? You got your personnel people looking at the draft stuff, and go ahead and get yourself as many interviews as possible. It's, what? It's also work for you on improving your interviewing skills.
That's true.
We always think about, these coaches getting in front of people. Well, you get better and better at asking, what are your strengths and your weaknesses? I mean, you can come up with some new questions to ask coaches. No, I mean, it does seem a little bit excessive when you consider everybody. It's like I could easily lop 4 or 5 names off right now and be just fine. But I don't know. What matters is that you end up coming away with a good one. And again, we'll see with Tomlin today. I assume there's going to be somewhere today, but just the fact that Harbaugh seems to be giving the Titans the time, the time of day to some extent, kind of exciting.
Trevor says Borgonzi to Daboll in the interview process. Brian, have you learned how to stay out of the blue tent yet? Can you promise if we hire you as the head coach that you're not going to go storming into the blue injury tent and pulling Cam Ward out by the shoulder pads?
If our quarterback is in the blue tent, you leave our quarterback alone, please. You promise me that, Brian?
Let's head back to our phone line. Welcome in Trey to the program. Trey, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Good morning, guys. How y'all doing?
Good, buddy. How are you?
Good.
Good. Hey, I just want to come in on Malik Willis. I've been, since he's been with us, I've been wishing that he would have an opportunity to get in there and, perform as a starting quarterback. What I like about Malik is his ability to see the field. I love his ball delivery. I love how it comes out. Have you just watched his dimes that he throws down the field? They're so beautiful. And I'm glad if he gets the opportunity, I can guarantee you he could get to 10 or 11 wins a season. And, he deserves an opportunity. And I want to talk about the coach situation. I don't want Daybell. I don't know how much success he had, especially with his other tenures, but I want somebody to come in here that has an alpha attitude, not somebody that's going to be passive aggressive. Oh, it'll be all right. Oh, he's just doing his job. Oh, we need to get better. No, I want somebody to come in and command the whole organization. And I think Coach Harbaugh could do that. And if Coach Tomlin gets fired, I think that he could do that. I think Saleh can do that. There's a few guys out there that, that can command the room. But we need somebody that's going to come in here, like Bergunza said, and be a leader of the whole organization. He needs to run the whole thing, so it can run better than what it has been in the last 5 years. And as far as Coach Vrabel, I want somebody that's like him, but I know it ain't nobody out there that's like him. And y'all have a good day. Thank you. Love y'all.
Thank
have
you,
a good
Trey.
evening.
Appreciate it. No Daybell.
Yeah, that Borginzi better not interview Daybell.
I mean, look, in all seriousness, on the Daybell front, I don't know that passive aggressiveness is his problem. He may be a little too aggressive.
It's just straight up aggressiveness. Yeah. Yeah. But I agree with Trey's sentiment on commanding a room. I mean, that's why, I mean, Saleh's been my top guy. And now, I'd put Harbaugh above that. And if Tomlin comes out above that, but those are the types of coaches that they seem to do well at a lot of places, including here not too long ago.
A lot of your thoughts on the coaching search front. We'll wrap up the show with that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Final segment of the day, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. A lot of your thoughts to get to on the Titans coaching search. 615-737-1025. Our phone number, 615-737-1025. Joe, one person earlier, and I'd have to go back and find the text message, but I wanted to bring this up to you. Talked about Stefanski. He's like, this time a week ago, if you told Titans fans like Stefanski is going to end up being your head coach, some people would like it, some people would have hated it, but you look around the options and you'd say, yeah, I mean, of the options that are out there, I mean, we've talked about the Matt Nagy's of the world and, the Arthur Smiths, guys who have been head coaches before, didn't go all that great. Like Stefanski, 2-time coach of the year, did pretty well early in his tenure with Cleveland, and then they moved on from Baker, and the Deshaun Watson thing was a disaster. But I think their point was, like, Stefanski at one point in this kind of seemed like the most accomplished, maybe the most coveted guy. And now that Harbaugh's out there, you've got potentially Tomlin out there. Who knows what's going to happen with Matt LaFleur? That situation hadn't been resolved yet. You've got the coordinators coming up, whether it's Chris Shula or as teams go through this process, how much is Clint Kubiak going to be involved in these discussions, all these different things. Like, where is Stefanski going to land in all this? Like, to me, he's the type of guy, Joe, where it's like, it's probably going to require Harbaugh making a decision, Tomlin, if applicable, making a decision, and then it kind of starts to line up after that. Joe's first mute of the day.
Wow. First,
almost made it the whole show.
I know. Well, except I didn't take part in the whole show because of my alarm. But yeah, good job. I had it set at the right time. I just didn't have it on the green, by the way, just so you know. But also, I just lost my point.
Sorry.
What were we talking about?
Well, we were talking about Stefanski. Like, where's he going to end up when all this?
Yes, this is an awesome point that I was just about to make. So some of these coaches, like, take the job. You get a job, take a job. Some of these teams, you got someone you like, go ahead. Don't worry about all this stuff. Stefanski to me is like he absolutely is a waiting for the dominoes to fall guy because he's going to get a head coaching job. I cannot believe that Stefanski is going to have to be relegated to being an OC next year. I think he's going to be a head coach, but he definitely needs to see where everything falls. And right now, again, we're waiting on your guy LaFleur to sign an extension or all of a sudden continue to send shockwaves through this coaching cycle. And then I think, very soon with him and with Mike Tomlin, we're going to find out. And then you can start playing the dominoes game. And Stefanski is going to be some team's pretty freaking good consolation prize.
Yeah. At some point he is. Like, Austin Stanley pointed this out from A to Z Sports. Like, are the Titans just going to interview every guy that's been fired other than, I guess, Pete Carroll? Like, is the Pete Carroll interview coming at some point here too?
Brian Kelly. What about he's out there? Yeah,
bring that Southern accent on up to Nashville, buddy.
Come on now, y'all. I'm ready for y'all. I love some country music. Yeah, it is getting a little bit heavy, right? I mean, like there are so many hours in a day. Texters also asking about. We haven't talked about it. We did talk about him yesterday, but Mike McDaniel. Yeah. I mean, look again. I have warmed up tremendously to the idea. I would put him. He's another one of those dominoes. Well, it's interesting. I don't know. There's some people I think would be scared away and just want him as an OC. I know the Lions want him as their OC, but I might put him above Stefanski on my. And I'm totally like waffling and going back and forth on this whole thing, but the more I think about him, the more I think he absolutely is a viable candidate.
I think he's a viable candidate too. I don't know exactly where he would rank. Like I think heading into this process, he would have probably, I think for most people, been more attractive as an offensive coordinator candidate. But that's the other part of this. The Titans are interviewing like 20 people for this job, and there are 8 jobs open right now? So there's a lot of people that aren't going to be finding a head coaching job this cycle. And look, maybe some of that's just like your Robert Salehs of the world. Like, is Robert Saleh going to land a head coaching job this cycle? I mean, I would think that he's got a decent shot at doing it. But again, there's a lot of people being interviewed here. And that's not just with the Titans. A lot of people being interviewed and only so many spots to fill these jobs here. So, like these young coordinators that we've talked about, how many of them are getting a job? Doesn't seem like it's going to be very many right now based on what the pool looks like.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, there's going to be some very good – there's going to end up being some very, exciting coordinator hires, and you would think good because they're people who could have been head coaches in another cycle. Speaking of coordinators – we're not someone asking about like who the heck is the Texans? Why is nobody talking about? That's Matt Burke.
Yeah,
and he will. By the way, he'll at some point he'll get opportunities. But I also would say like there's a great example of, and I'm sure he's very good. He's doing a very good job. He's not. He has nothing to do with those guys dominating up front and destroying offensive lines and tackling the secondary. And to me, the Texans is a great example of Jimmy's and Joe's beats X's and O's.
Yep.
Again, I'm not trying to take anything away from that guy, but remember, Mike Vrabel came to the Titans, got the job, and his defense was 31st in the league in his one season as D coordinator. That was very much injury related, but just saying, like sometimes coordinators get too much credit and too much blame based on the personnel realities.
That's going to do it for us today here on the program. Next Man Up with Jake Lyman coming up next. You're listening to 102.5 The Game.